tell us something about the HAL Marut and why it is stopped. So the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited Marut was a fighter plane, was an Indian fighter jet. It was the first fighter plane that was developed in India. It was most likely in the first Asian fighter plane which was developed in Asia. So the designer of this aircraft was Kurt Tank, who was a German aeronautics engineer. He was a very renowned and successful engineer and designer. So he designed this plane, and it was called the Marut. It was in the 1960s, I think, that in the beginning of the 1960s that this development took place, and I think the first production aircraft was delivered to the Indian Air Force in the late 1960s. Now, this was a very good design for the first fighter aircraft a country has produced. It was a brilliant design. It was a very good plane. It nevertheless had a couple of deficiencies. Its power plant, which means its engine, was not powerful enough, and this was a political problem. India was either unable or unwilling to acquire a powerful enough jet engine from the West. And secondly, it was not able or not willing to invest the resources in developing a powerful indigenous jet engine. And therefore, this plane was hampered by the fact that it used a very underpowered engine. And that's why it was never able to exceed Mach 1, which is the supersonic limit. And yet, it was a very good plane. It saw action, military action in 1971. It did quite well. It was involved in the Battle of Longewala, in which Pakistan suffered a disastrous defeat from the air. There's another movie about that called Border or something. So yeah, it was a good plane. It was a very good plane, but it was decommissioned in the early 1980s, and no further development was done. I mean, if you have a version one of a plane which is quite good, you should iterate upon it and improve it. That's how you build better and better planes. That's what every country has done. You first build one plane which is good enough, reasonably good, and then you slowly, over the years and decades, improve upon it slowly, slowly, slowly. You create version 2, version 3, version 4, then you create different offshoots with two engines or maybe some other configuration. And that's how you build your own defense industry, and you build on your own array of fighter aircraft. In the case of India, you created the Marut, you refused to put a powerful enough engine in it, and then you killed the program, and that was it. So this was all politics. Indian politicians, you know how they are. There were lots of inducements from Western countries to Indian politicians and various Indian regimes to acquire military hardware, including fighter planes, from the West. But if you have your own fighter planes, which you have developed indigenously, then how can you buy fighter planes from the West? And then how can you get kickbacks and but the various other benefits? So this is the reason why this wonderful fighter plane project was killed off. And that's why India still is struggling to have an indigenous arms industry of its own. Now we have the LCA Tejas, which is an excellent aircraft. It needs to be improved upon. Everything needs to be improved upon. But the LCA Tejas is an excellent fighter plane in its class. So if India had persisted with the HAL Marut and improved upon it, India may today have had a number of different fighter aircraft which were derived from it. Unfortunately, India's politicians did not pursue India's national interest. They pursued money, and this wonderful fighter plane program was killed off. So that is the sad story and the usual story of Indian arms and ammunition development. So that's what happened with the HAL Marut.